Welcome to the Profits in Pajamas podcast. I'm Danielle D, or Coach Danni D, and I help women to create luxury brands by creating processes and tightening their branding. This is where we talk about how to build your business in a way that allows you to work with ease and enjoy your life. My happy space is spending as much time as humanly possible in my pajamas. And I want to help others to find their happy space while still running profitable businesses. So get comfortable and let's dig in. Hello and welcome to the Profits in Pajamas podcast. I am your host, Coach Danni D, and I am here helping small business owners learn how to juggle having a business and having a life and being able to be profitable in their pajamas or whatever their thing is that that time freedom is going to afford them. I want to make sure that you understand that even within this work with ease lifestyle, there's going to be work, but it doesn't have to be hard. It doesn't have to feel hard. It doesn't have to, you don't have to um exhaust yourself to be successful as a business owner. It's really mostly about your strategy, your boundaries, your understanding of what it is you want, and aligning your business, your life, your day-to-day activities with what you ultimately want. So that's my point of view. That's what the podcast is about. I'm also a luxury brand coach, so I help creative women take their passion projects or their, businesses that may not be thriving the way that they want to into a luxury brand, because just because it is artistic does not mean that it can't also be a profitable business. Okay. So let's get into this week's topic. So this topic came to me kind of um randomly, a little tongue in cheek. This week I want to talk about, are you faithful? And the reason why I say tongue in cheek, of course, in pop culture right now, there's a lot of conversations going on around, celebrity couples and relationships and, faithfulness. That's not where I'm going with this at all. As far as, your romantic relationship. Where I'm going with this is, are you faithful to the assignment that you've been given? I've shared before, I am, Christian, so I will come at this from that perspective. But if that's not your faith belief, or if you don't carry a faith belief, I don't want you to disregard the message, because regardless, there is some calling, assignment, purpose about your life, about your business, about, why you are specifically designed to do what you do. There is a reason for that. There's a reason why you're that person. My question about, are you faithful to it, right? So we, in different ways get called upon to be, we get that calling, we get that feeling. We, we may call it passion, we may call it a drive, we may, we call it a lot of different things. But ultimately, you get this feeling from within that is pulling you towards something, that is strongly pulling you towards something. And to be honest, it may not be the thing that you're doing right now. Excuse me. It may be something totally different. There may be a thing you like to do, and there may be a thing that you are called to do. So, you may Like, okay, I'll give the example for me. I have 2 businesses. I like to do balloon decor. I enjoy it. I enjoy my clients. I enjoy who I work with. I enjoy all of that. But I am called to be a coach. My husband will tell you, he has said on several occasions, um, he's seen me across the room talking to someone, and he said, "Oh, you were talking to them about business, weren't you?" And I said, "Yes." He said, "You look different when you talk about business." Um, if y'all follow me, I know I went to Jamaica for my birthday last year and I did a photo shoot and, wonderful gentleman photographer followed us around all day long, did a, fantastic job. Towards the end of the day, sun's going down, we're chatting, and I started asking him questions about his business. And so we start talking about him expanding his business. And he says, I've been photographing you all day. I've never seen you light up the way that you're lit up right now, right? Saying all that to say there's that something that gets you excited, that thing that you're geeked out about, that thing that maybe you're scared about because it's such a big calling sometimes that it can be scary. I know that I feel that way sometimes that, you know, it's also a calling, but it's a huge responsibility. So, it may be something that makes you nervous, makes you scared. But the topic today is faithfulness, right? And when you are called to that thing, whether you feel like God has called you to that thing or however you process that, right? When you don't step into what God has said you are to do, you're not being faithful. And I have to remind myself of that, and I've struggled with that. But you have a responsibility to do that thing. You were specially designed to do that thing for a reason. And sometimes that reason is that is the thing that's going to kind of set you free and bring you into the fullness of yourself. Sometimes that reason is that thing is the thing that is going to help you to set someone else free, to unlock that in someone else. And honestly, I believe that it's both most times. Most times it is a journey that you need to go on for your own self-discovery, but there are always going to be eyes and people watching you on that journey. And as you unlock doors, you're unlocking doors for others as well. That calling is where you can show your faith. And let me kind of like break that down a little bit more. Like, so a lot of times we question whether or not we can do something because, somebody else made us feel like we couldn't. Somebody made us feel like we weren't qualified. We decided we can't do it. We're not qualified. We need more, education. We need more experience. We need more of this. We need more of that. Here's the thing. If God told you so, who is more qualified to tell you that you are qualified than him? If he has qualified you, there's no one that can unqualify you. If you're not a, faith believer and you don't, believe that, you know, that God has qualified you in this way. The other, way to look at this is if, look at the people who are touched by what you do. Look at the people who have validated what you do. Not saying that, you should rely on that validation, but what I know is, there's always going to be people who are going to try to shoot down your dream. There's always going to be people who are going to try to um, make you feel less than because that makes them feel better for whatever reason. Um, and there's always going to be self doubt. So there's always going to be moments where you feel less than. Maybe that person is not even putting that energy out there. Maybe it's you. Maybe you are just feeling inadequate for whatever reason. But there are signs around you that let you know that you have been qualified for this thing. Almost every time that I've faced doubt, the Lord has sent me a sign, a message that made me realize, you know what? No, this is bigger than me and my doubt and the things that I can concoct in my brain of why not, right? It's bigger than that. I have gotten some serious heartfelt messages from people that I'm just like, wow, if me just walking the walk that I'm supposed to walk is impacting a person in this way, is affecting somebody in this way, then I can't just shrink back because it's comfortable for me to shrink back. I have to keep going. And I know some of you may be thinking, well, I'm not in a coaching or healing field, which I know some of you are, some of you aren't. But just because that's not your direct field, your journey is inspiring, affecting, um, unlocking things for other people. The first time that I received a message that what I was doing in my day to day life was affecting someone else, I wasn't coaching at that time. It was actually a part of that journey towards that, but I wasn't coaching at that time. At that time, I was just growing my business. And someone approached me because of that and told me how, in tears, how that affected their journey in their life and how that motivated them to keep going. And I was just like, I don't really understand what's happening right now because in my mind, I'm still trying to figure it out. But you have to realize that he puts you in places because of what he needs for you to be for yourself and for others. So we have to learn how to be faithful. And what I mean by being faithful is we got to trust. And I'll be the first to hold my hand up and say, I got trust issues. And I'm like, well, can you spell it out for me? What's the next step gonna look like? Out guilty. But what I know is that through this journey, I've learned that when those moments come, when you're sitting in those moments where you don't see that next step and it feels a little scary, and you start to get to that point where you're like, well, let me try to think of another thing to do. Trust the process. And maybe that's the best way to say it. If you're not a faith believer, trust the process. So when you go into it and you're given a path, an assignment, a process, trust that process throughout. Almost every time that I, go in panic mode and go and try to do something else or come up with this plan, it never works. Never works. And it sounds brilliant to me at the time. Oh, go do this and blah, blah, blah. And every single time it flop. Not because it wasn't a good idea, but it wasn't a part of the process. I was adding my own parts to the process because it got quiet and I got nervous. And that's what we do. It gets quiet, we get nervous, we start getting into our own head, our own thoughts. It's been a minute since, I've converted a sale, or things don't seem to be going how they need to be going. And we start taking control. We don't control the process. We don't control the process. And we have to, once we have set it, we have to watch it through because they're going to be those quiet moments. And that quietness can get uncomfortable. But if we believe that what was promised to us is going to happen, and we were given, because, God gives us little clues and cues of what we need to be doing, not these panic decisions, but the calm decisions. When you get those thoughts and moments of calm, that's him talking. That's my belief, right? That's him talking. When you get those, when you go into those panic decisions, that's you. That's you trying to take control because you are uncomfortable sitting in the silence. We have to learn how to be uncomfortable and trust that everything is going to be okay on the other side because he said it would. And we have to trust that even though we don't know, that he knows. And so we have to be faithful to what he has said. We have to walk in that faith. So we have to learn how to walk tall in our purpose because he told us to. He said so. He said so. So we have to learn how to walk tall in that. And it ain't easy. You know, I know that there are many times where I'm like, You want me to, Lord, what? You want me to who? All right, I'm gonna do it. But we have to start shedding our self-doubt. We have to start shedding our thoughts about what other people think about what is happening, or what other people think about our qualifications. We have to start letting go of that and knowing that what we are designed to do is what we will do as long as we continue to walk in faith, as long as we continue to believe that if he said we can, we can. And believe in the power of that and believe that even in those moments where it looks like everything is falling apart. I'm not the, I am a faith believer. I'm not the, turn your Bibles to pages. I'm not that girl. But there's so many examples throughout the Bible of situations where it didn't look it looked like it was gonna come out right, but it turned out how it was supposed to in the end because of faith. And understand that even though I'm saying be faithful, exercise that faith muscle, because that's what growth is exercising that faith muscle, is that I can, even though it looks dark right now, I know I can and I'm gonna keep going. But We have to exercise it, but know that we're human and God knows that we're human. And that's why we falter at times. Even Jesus questioned God, you know, in the resurrection story. Jesus is questioning God of, you sure? Like, is this how this is supposed to go down? But you have to have that faith, and we have to walk tall in that faith and sit in some uncomfortable spaces sometimes to get there. And that quiet. Thank you for listening to the Prophets in Pajamas podcast. I hope you got some great tips to start working with ease. Want to stay connected? Follow me at Your Workflow on Instagram. For more information about building your luxury brand, register for my upcoming luxury brand workshop at CoachDanniD.com.